guess this reflects on the need to have all branches of the government working together. If you have the executive branch ensuring that our prosecutors prosecute correctly and meeting those standards of prosecution, and the courts being able to convict on that level, and if our laws aren't having any teeth, then those need to be brought to the council and tell us where we can put in the right law to ensure that convictions occur. We haven't seen much of that unless that stays with the administration. But remember, the administration aren't the lawmakers, the council is. In all my 8 years, I've only seen a couple of revisions. That's for the juvenile code, and that's for our law and order code. And if you're including domestic violence in the law and order code, right now the Violence Against Women Act actually allows you to have a separate law. Actually allows you to have a separate law pertaining to domestic violence. Whether that's a male on a female, or a female on a male, or a kid on a mother, domestic partner assault. And I think that we definitely need to coordinate that with all branches of the government, but it's wrong. And if our people if perpetrators aren't getting prosecuted, we're allowing crimes to go unsolved in any country. And that's across the nation. It's been an epidemic of women being raped, being beaten, being murdered. Those things go on nationally. And that's why this Violence Against Women Act is so important. It gives us the ability as sovereign nations to make a law that's appropriate for our lands, for our people.
And again, this gets back to the law. The laws that we enforce are the laws that are created by the tribal council, not the laws that we enforce, but the laws that we interpret at the court. And it is the administrative branch that enforces the law through the police and through the prosecutors. But again, it gets back to the underlying issue is people are getting hurt, people are getting injured, and sometimes the system fails these people. Now, they can be prosecuted federally, okay? And they are. A lot of them go to federal, and sometimes cases are dismissed in tribal court by the prosecutor because they have decided to prosecute that case in the federal court. The underlying thing here that's missing is there really needs to be a complete community involvement in the whole process. It shouldn't just be the court problem or a legislator or the prosecutor or whoever. It's got to be the whole community's got to be involved because we want something that works to keep our people safe, and we want to know what the process is if there's a breakdown, if something happens, and everybody's got to work together on that deal.
Our next question will come from Alan Clover.
Well, really, I have no intentions of, asking a question, because I was over there last night in Langdon, and these two gentlemen, they almost answered they answered good questions, and I think they're good candidates. And myself, I almost have to flip a coin, to do a vote, but. I've been through, a lot of administrations and working indirectly, through programs and one of the things that when there's a change in administration, new council coming in, and the one thing that really bugs me is they all come in, raise their right hand, under oath, and they're going to do certain things, and as soon as they get started, get seated, and then the split begins. They have two groups. So I guess my question is, these two gentlemen, is there a solution to this? Because we can get a lot of business done, a lot of issues solved, without two groups. Just one group, I think would work real good. And so my question is, if there is a solution, how would you fix it? Thank you.
Okay, so Jace, next question is we go to John.
Years ago when I was first hired as judge, I was fortunate. There were a lot of old timers around, a lot of elders, and they talked with me. And one of the things that they told me, which I have accepted, is when you get sworn into office and you raise your hand up to take that oath, you're not just making a promise. When you raise that hand up, you're raising your hand up to Maheo. And it becomes a sacred oath. I believe in our traditions, I believe in our ways, I believe in our ceremonial ways. And I have tried to abide by that throughout my career with the tribe. So, I'm not sure there's any way you can correct it, but here's what I have learned. I can listen to what anybody says. And I learned this too. They said, you go somebody asks for help in a ceremonial way. There's way, you watch how that person lives. Don't just listen to what they say. You watch how they live and what they've done. I do the same thing. I'm a voter too. I look at the people, I look at the candidates, and I select a candidate. Has that person lived the way that he's talking right now? Has he done what he says he's done? Is that experience there that they claim to have? So really, that is my power as a voter. That's up to me to make that individual decision. And I can't think of any process other than lie detector, maybe, that would help us get somebody in office who's going to do what they say they're going to do.
I've survived, I survived 3 administrations. And our leadership, who we elect, reflect our communities and our society. So we have a split council, we have a split community. So it does matter who you elect. And my years on council, I would say this if I was president, not just the oath. If I hold myself to a high ethical standard, I expect you to. We have to police ourselves as council. We have to police each other to ensure that we're doing our work for the people, that there's no corruption, and that we're abiding by those code of ethics. That code of ethics is serious. And you know what? I've hands-on had to do this. Maybe it was me who split this council. When I held one of our council members accountable for a DUI that he lied to us about, and it split our council. Why? Because nobody wanted to deal with an automatic removal that was written in our Constitution. That's what we swear an oath to, our Constitution. And guess what? It turned into a 6-5 council for the rest of the year. And that troubles me, because those who voted to keep him on obviously didn't get re-elected. So we have to wait every election. That's where constitutional revision is going to be important. Where we look at a recall provision for our council members, but we also look at a way to deal with impasse. Impasse is a way to deal with something we can't agree on. We got to do it internally. We can't wait for the Bureau to come in and tell us who's right or who's wrong. We got to figure it out. And if we have to rely on our cultural ways or our traditional law, then we should have an avenue for that. But I tell you what, my experience tells me that it's all about who we elect and who our leaders are. And taking that oath is also about following that code of ethics. It's serious.
The other thing about, I think, you're going to have a division because of the nature of it. You have 10 persons who are elected as politicians, and so I believe that it falls, to me, you're going to have disagreements, so it falls upon the president to take that extra step, not just sit back and let things happen. I believe it's the responsibility of the president to bring the people together, and for the president to do that outreach, for the president to call the people together and sit down and start working out some of the issues. There's nothing wrong with having a difference of opinions, but it should not turn into a vendetta. There has to be a real attempt, a sincere attempt for people to try and resolve these differences, because the only reason we have elected officials is because to help the people. Okay? That's the bottom line. And if we ever get away from that, then I think it's up to the president to remind them. And that's why it's so critical when you take a look at the president. You take a look at this person, say, that's the person I admire, that's the trait I admire, that's the character I admire, that's who I'm voting for.
I guess this is where I have a difference in philosophy. We should stop electing politicians and start electing leaders. There's a difference. Okay, leaders, they want the job because they can do the work. Politicians, they want your vote. You know, like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. And divisions may happen. We can agree to disagree. You know, I worked across what they call the aisle, the political aisle. It's always been happy-full. You know, I'm tired of that. My generation, we're tired of that. The idea that you can have a disagreement and shake hands at the end, that's foreign in our government. They hold grudges, okay? I've seen 50-year-olds pout. I've seen 40-year-olds throw 5-year-old fits. Seriously, even in the council chambers. Respect is the hardest thing to lose, because once you lose it, it's gone. You can never get it back. You can apologize and forgive, but guess what? That respect is gone. And I think it's important for our leaders who we elect not to lose respect. I think it's equally important that they're professional. And how do you be professional? Through experience. How do you be professional? By being able to articulate your view, by being able to research your legislation you want to represent, by being able to communicate with your district.